That's a Shame is brought to you by the people who support us over at patreon.com/shamecity.
If you have $1,
$2.
$1 to spare, join us again at patreon.com/shamecity. Please.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode 152 of That's a Shame. I'm Isaac Yore.
I'm Declan.
And we're going to just dive the fuck in, aren't we?
Straight there.
I've already got in my hand 4 of these goddamn genius suggestions.
We should just say up front though,
Yeah.
before we do that, if you don't know why we're diving right in,
You made
if
me
for some
sick.
reason you've forgotten, or maybe, and I can barely bring myself to say it,
Don't
if
countenance it.
you didn't listen to episode 151, then log off, you goddamn Detlef. Go back and listen,
you.
get all the spiel, get the first half,
Yeah.
and then come back here, and then maybe, just maybe,
Yeah.
you'll have earned the right to listen to this content.
And here is that content. This is... Well, I've done them in the wrong order, I realise now. This is a... Goodness me. It's a game for the last one that I found. A game for the playground. So this is a playground game for the playground.
Right.
You know when you're a child and you're playing in the playground?
Yep, I remember that.
What were some of the games you had in your playground days?
I used to pretend to be a Tyrannosaurus Rex and I would chase girls around the playground.
Oh dear. Is this when you're a student or a teacher?
This was
Don't answer that question. What about Foursquare? You must have played Foursquare.
No.
Foursquare is, to this day, the greatest physical game you can play. Let me talk you through it very briefly. You've got a square.
4 of them.
Well, 1, but then 4
divided
within
into
it.
4.
Numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. I think you want to be in the higher number, the better. Because if there are only 4 of you, you can never get out. But if there are people queuing, and once you've started a hot game of Foursquare,
Oh my God, let me
once the
tell you,
words on the
queuing round the
playground
block.
grapevine, yeah, you can barely move.
Queuing
for
right
fun.
round the friendship bench.
All you need is
Did
a
you have a
tennis ball.
friendship bench?
No, we
Let
didn't.
me
We
tell
had
you
a-
about that in a minute then.
No, it sounds very sad and tragic. We have 4 of your biggest, coolest lads. There's me, there's Benji, there's Dominic maybe, there's Edward.
There's
before he
Wizzo.
left. No, we didn't have a Wizzo at James Wharf. Edward, sadly, you remember he had to leave, he moved to Manchester, and now his accent's funny, I heard, because he's moved back to Greenwich. Anyway, you're all there, you've got 1 tennis ball, the person in number 1 bounces it in the middle of the, where all the squares meet, that crosshair, with a view to it going probably diagonally opposite. Then you must have played that one where you pat the ball against the wall. You never... What was your childhood
we
like?
played Fumble.
Pat ball.
No, we didn't play Pat Ball. We played Fumble. A much more violent and
Stop. This is
predatory
silly.
game.
So they've patted it across. They've thrown it across. It bounces. You then all have to... No. Then the person opposite will hit it back with a flat palm.
Okay.
So you can't catch it. You're batting it
Yeah.
in the middle. And you're kind of aiming probably diagonally, but you can also play a cheeky sideways shot as long as it bounces first. After you hit it, everyone has to move clockwise. If you miss it, you're out and you go to number 4. If you're in number 1, you're the king of Foursquare. So this is the kind of playground. Oh, tell me about the friendship. The no friendship bench.
Yeah, at my primary school, they...
Can I guess?
Maybe my 3rd year. Well,
Do you have to sit there if you've got no friends? Because
Yeah.
I will cry on air.
yeah.
That's
It
so
was
sad.
it was a place.
Why?
It was the most incredibly poorly thought through idea.
Highlight the losers. bench.
Well, yeah, this is what even as a year 4 myself at the time, I was maybe 8 years old.
Yeah.
They introduced it and they were like, "It's a place to sit.
No.
If you feel
Come on.
if you haven't
What
got any
were these
friends."
people never children?
I was like,
how could you be?
Why you've just created the bullying
It's like
hotspot.
spotlight on bullying, but in a very literal way. It's not in
As
a,
in, hey, have you bullied all the people in your vicinity? Well, here's some subs
that's so
ready to
fucking-
come on.
What a poor idea.
It was so dumb.
Do you hear about how bullying's not really in anymore?
What do you mean?
Apparently Gen Z, they don't bully like we used to.
They're missing
I
out.
think it's nice though.
Snowflakes.
God, well, if we're snowflakes, us millennials, I can only imagine we're going to have to come up with a whole new
And I say this as someone who, until I was at least 16, was only the bullied.
Oh no!
Were
you on the friendship?
I was still no. Even I knew,
Not
loser that I was, not to. I was too busy chasing girls, pretending I was a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
And that's really weird that you say you were bullied. I can't see a correlation.
Well, there is none.
So this is a game for the playground, and it's a tycoon game. Now, what I mean by that, I'm thinking Roller Coaster Tycoon. I'm thinking Theme Hospital.
Is this just going to end up as you selling Pokemon cards in a playground you were?
That did happen, so I guess I've already won. However, there are two big differences I'm about to reveal. But I just want to make sure we're all calibrated. They're games where you're usually at quite an abstract level of relationship to the acts that are going on. You're not like on the ground floor doing the selling of the Pokemon cards. A Pokemon card seller tycoon game, you'd be managing like a fleet of lads, each of them with a hat full of dreams.
You're Fagin.
Yeah, you're a kind of Fagin, a Fagin of the Pokemon realm. Now, the two curveballs, I suppose, that differentiate this from my own playground experience, long ago though it was, is that the main character, or at least a main character, is Leaky Steve. So we're going to have to think about how he factors in.
Oh, do we?
No, we're going to have to really drill down to how Leaky Steve, how he got in the playground, and how he has gone
and
as
why
of yet
he hasn't been
unreported.
taken out.
And the game is about, were anyone to ask, it's about, I've written it here with a big P, it's Perfect Curry, TM. Perfect Curry.
Okay, do you want to clarify that for any of us? Because listeners might not have realised from just the mere reading there, but all four of those suggestions were from Isaac.
That's weird.
Leaky Steve.
I think that might be one of yours, actually.
No, that's
I guess
your
jury's
scrawl.
out. It's hard to tell, you're right.
What is Perfect Curry, TM?
Well, that's something that we can delve into, but if...
I'll be honest, I don't want to. So I'd
as
rather
game developers...
I would rather that you just tell me what it is.
Developers,
and I'll tell you where it comes into the game.
We often have to go to dark places that we didn't anticipate, and sometimes that means inhabiting the role of Leaky Steve, in your case. Sometimes it means really blue skying what Perfect Curry TM could mean in the context of a playground tycoon, Steve heavy game.
Well, I'm assuming
experience.
Okay, here's my gut check.
Yeah, give me the gut check, won't you?
Right. So you are.
Don't say me. But one is because I'm not in the playground.
No, I'm talking you as in the general.
Right. Okay.
You as the player.
Yeah.
Are a kid.
Hopefully so.
Well, you could have been a teacher or one of those horrible old ladies.
The dinner ladies that steal all your tennis balls. God, Jackie. If she's out there, if you're listening, dinner lady Jackie.
You fucking bitch.
Who I got on with all right. Every context other than the playground, where she turned into, honestly...
one hell of a monster.
A fascist. An absolute tennis ball stealing, fascist, destroyer of fun. She'd be watching your Foursquare game, and if it got even the slightest bit rowdy, she'd steal your tennis ball and throw it on the roof.
Wow.
Fucking bitch.
Wow, that is sadistic.
No, I'm sure she was alright. She probably had some issues. Maybe she got hit by a tennis ball once.
That could be it.
That'll
or
do
her
it.
husband cheated on her with
a tennis
with
player.
like Steffi Graf or something.
God.
I'm going to say, let's get a bit of diversity in here as well.
Yep.
You are a young boy of colour. You're from an Asian background.
What if you're not that, though?
What do you mean?
Well, what if you, the player, are not that?
Oh, I'm afraid it doesn't matter.
Okay, so it's a game that's only playable by POC children.
No.
COC.
White children can play as well, but the character they're playing is not.
Do you have to play a character of your own race?
No. Well, people of colour have been forced to play as white characters for
I know, so I'm saying
a long time.
Maybe now's the time that we can
No.
even those odds.
Why would it matter?
What I'm saying is if your sentiment around the game is that it's going to be about the experiences of people of colour, then maybe we could marginalise the whites and show them what it's like for a change. Because what a better time to learn that than in your 15-minute recess.
I like that.
Or
So they
play.
literally can't play.
No, it's not that they can't play, but maybe their roles should be heavily diminished.
Oh, they
to the
can
point
only
of
be like a little
irrelevance.
bitch.
Yeah, they're sort of whatever. They're like the lowest level of the
They can
tycoon.
only play as Leaky Steve.
This is a good idea.
And you have this idea as the character, the main character, that, your dad, he runs a successful restaurant chain.
A chain.
A chain.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. He is a tycoon himself.
Oh, he's playing his own IRL restaurant tycoon.
And you are his son, and you are deciding to try and play some of that out in the playground.
It's an entrepreneurial experience.
The school dinners at this place,
Well, they're shit, aren't
they're
they?
horrid.
They're turkey twizzlers. Jamie Oliver spat all over them.
Yeah, well, they were good because they were turkey twizzlers, and then Jamie Oliver threw them out.
Oh, yeah, he made
And
them
now
all
you've
salad.
got sort of like mush.
What about people who say salad rather than salad?
Oh, we don't talk about them here.
Okay.
And they've no place in this curry tycoon game that we've
That's
got.
fair enough.
So what you decide is you're going to have a little side hustle,
Yeah.
alongside your regular hustle of just being the coolest kid in the playground, which is selling
Yeah.
your dad's food as lunches to people in the playground.
That's quite cool. That's a cool idea because there was always a kid at school who would come up with the very obvious but yet genius idea of like, what if I buy a box of 20 Capri Sun juices and then just sell those for like £1? Like, everyone will do it because they don't want to fuck about going in queuing for the lunch. I wonder why that didn't happen more. It's because children are stupid.
Well, and they also, you often get quickly found out and then banned.
Yeah, we did have that as well, actually.
It's a shame.
So there's a stealth element already then where I think the stealth could be twofold at least. Maybe 3, maybe 4. We'll come to that. First of all, I don't think your dad's in on this. Because
he's not.
Your cool dad, he knows what it means to work a hard day in his life. He's come from the ground up with this
the
chain.
sweat of an honest day's work.
Yeah, he's a first generation immigrant, your dad.
He is.
He came over with a dream in his heart and fuck all else in his pockets, and he's made the best of it. He's living what we unfortunately refer to as the Britland dream, the British the British dream of
no, we don't. Surely,
no, we don't. There is no British dream really, apart from
because
just
they know it's
basic
too racist
survival.
for anyone to live.
He has worked his way up to being maybe we should give him like some Michelin stars or something. Like this guy,
sure.
he's top tier.
He is.
I can't
honestly.
stress that enough. So I'm going to carry on.
Okay.
He's a hero amongst the restaurant folk. Gordon Ramsay's gullet.
Oh, why would he do that?
Because he's had to show dominance over him.
You've got to.
He has to.
Otherwise,
do
Gordon
that.
will walk all over you.
He will, like Marco Pierre White did, made him cry. Little fool. Little foolish Gordon getting abused by his staff, his employer. So your dad, he's all about graft. He's about honest graft.
He knows you haven't made this food.
He knows you haven't made it. He knows you don't know how to make it. He knows that food is for his paying customers and that should any of it go missing from the big vat, sure, he might not notice a couple of scoops here and there, but he's keeping tabs. So the stage 1 of the game, phase 1, is going to be a lot of like sneaking in and collecting various curries because I assume, well, maybe we start with one.
Yeah.
You start with a simple boona.
Yeah, but you just have to start. Well, no.
No, we start with
with a korma.
Okay.
Start with a korma because
But I don't think there should be any meat in or anything. I think it should be like super simple, like a dal maybe.
But I'm thinking just because you are the only child of colour in this school, they're all white, and so they're not used to it. But then B, part of the game is that if you want to build your business, you have to do a lot of kind of interviewing, as it were, a bit like you wandering around your Stardew Valley, figuring out which people you like, which one you're going to fuck.
It's Hayley.
Well, it is Hayley.
Yeah.
And you're horny for Hayley.
I love Hayley more than life itself.
Yeah, more than your real life girlfriend.
Now.
Oh, how many times have you bought her flowers?
A sunflower or a can of Joja Cola.
Yeah. Well,
not
I'm
many,
going to
to be
assume it's none. So you've got to wander around and figure out which ones you trust enough to bring in on the hustle.
Okay. Yeah. So there's like an interpersonal element as well.
Now,
I do like what you've said about this idea that you're the only person of colour, because then it's a game that's commenting on inclusivity and on about bringing your experience. It's like, this is me. The person is an unashamed ambassador of this culture in a school that maybe one of our meters is bigotry that you have to manage.
You have to try and get it down to none.
If you do too well too quickly, they're going to resent you because they're talentless white folk who couldn't make a decent curry if their lives depended on it. But if you can slowly manage spinning all these plates, almost literally, just eking out that sentiment of you know what, this guy knows what he's doing, then the bigotry meter is going to go down and down, and the profits, they're going to go sky high.
Now, there's two elements that are yet to be addressed. One of them, I think, is implicitly taken. I'd like to deal with them now, if that's okay. Perfect Curry TM. I think A, perfect name for the game.
Yeah.
But B, I think that is...
Perfect Curry Tycoon.
That's like your dad's most expensive dish. And that's the one that you're working on.
Oh, yeah,
but it's the one that's furthest into the kitchen. So you've got to like...
And maybe once we get past these early game phases of you nicking curry from your dad's hard-working restaurant, then maybe you can earn enough money to set up a sort of like what looks like just a bike shed around the back of the school, but you can start equipping it out with like some
hob.
burners, like portable
I like it.
hob, some like basic extractor fan, some chopping boards, some work services. Maybe you get some like whatever they're called, the like lowest tier of a restaurant where they just do your chopping for you in to help out, because your job then would be to try and like decode what your dad's doing. It would be like a surveillance thing. It's like, right, so there's 3 bird's eye chilies that he's sauteing there at the start in the ghee just to get the whole thing going as a base. Then he adds some cumin seeds, but how long is he cooking them for? It's like a toast, but you don't want to leave them in for too long, or there's an acridity to it. It would be a whole thing around replication.
And then also there's an element there of like, well, hang on a minute. Have I got the time to be doing all this myself? Is there someone I can trust to send in to do it?
Because even
are any of these white kids going to know what on earth he's doing?
Your best person is not going to be up to standard, but sometimes it's going to be more ultimately efficient and beneficial
for you to
have an 80% quality curry.
For you to be training the couriers.
Yeah, to be training the couriers or to... The couriers. Genius. Oh... This is a good game.
Now, here's where
the issues.
So, we've been hamstrung slightly by our contractual need to include the esoteric Leaky Steve. But here's who Leaky Steve is. You've got a
pitch for him, because I've got one as well.
I've got 2 pitches for him. Number 1, there's a kind of... I quite like the idea of a literal evocation of the idea of Leaky Steve.
So he's got like...
So what I'm thinking is that...
urinary tract problems, and he's just constant... There's a constant dribble.
Oh, no.
Okay. Well, maybe that's...
What I was thinking was that he's the biggest racist in school, but we don't know who he is. Because you can't always tell.
It's like anonymous.
Yeah. And what it is because you can't be just selling this in maybe Tupperware boxes, because then people have to bring in cutlery, they have to bring in... So what you do is you cleverly sell it in little cartons, okay, that people can drink from.
Right? That is clever. Like milk, they look like just...
They look like it's playground milk, yeah. But Leaky Steve sabotages
He's got a compass.
Yeah. And he stabs the bottom and they leak out. And the more that this happens... He does it before you sell them, and you hand them over and they're leaking, and people think you're trying to do them dirty.
Yeah. So that
and then they're not
the bigotry
back.
meter's going up.
What I was thinking as well, the other thing that it could be is a slightly more sideways glance at the idea. And maybe Leaky Steve he's one of the people that is in your employ.
This is where I was going.
And he is telling others
state secrets, where state means perfect curry TM restaurant. Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that we both, and it's really miraculous, this kind of simpatico that we share. We both, for some reason, landed on Leaky Steve as an antagonist rather than as one of the good guys.
And that's weird.
That's really interesting.
Because the name, there's no real reason why you would go one way or the other.
Yeah. One thing that I would like to add in, because I do like the ideas both that Leaky Steve he gets his name from this compass carrying penetration of your business model. But I do want him to be an adult. And I don't know how, because I think one of the I think there should be like a scary element to Leaky Steve, where it's more than he's just out to get your business, but what's he doing in the playground? And how's he getting in and out repeatedly unnoticed?
Now, here's another slight problem that I want to bring in. And as I do, I'm just going to pick up one of the special stars, just so that I can see, well, this writes itself.
Does it? Good.
Again. Now, something that I feel we might have missed, and that might limit the playability of the game and the involvement.
I just remembered.
It's supposed to be an actual playground game, not a game set in a playground. So unless we can find willing, first generation immigrant Michelin star rated curry house owning families who have one very talented
entrepreneurial
son or daughter
genius
who is going to one racist all-white school and fancy setting up a business. The game is somewhat dead in the water.
I don't know how we dropped the ball on that one, Chief. I really don't. That's a bad day for shame games. We've developed such an incredible piece.
Chalk it up as a loss. Loot boxes was the star. Fucking hell. That's just leaving treats in the playground. That's a crime.
That'll get you straight.
That's a real Leaky Steve move.
Well, sorry lads.
Confined to the bin of history.
Damn, it was so good as well.
Oh dear.
I had the
Yeah, I could see it all.
There was a top-down bit where you were like doing the missions to dive into the kitchen. Oh fuck.
Oh well. Easy come, easy go.
They say you have to kill your darling sometimes, and Perfect Curry's TM. It might come back even stronger in a new incarnation.
Now, let's not forget this, because this is our next platform. Okay. So let's try and keep this one in mind.
That's good.
This is a board game.
A board game, yeah.
Right.
Okay, tabletop experience.
Okay. Here we go. And the style of game, which again could be scuppering us already. It's one of yours, so...
So there's a big chance that it's odd.
Well, in a way, yes, because it's a Telltale game. But we can work that. We can work that.
It can be Telltale just in terms of like the spirit of
While I pick a genre, do you want to just make sure the listenership
Telltale games, you'll know about them most prominently from the Walking Dead series, I would expect. They also did the much better Wolf Among Us and the much worse Minecraft story mode, which is one of Declan's long-time faves. Basically, the core of the game is it's about what looks like player choice and decision making, where you're like, oh, quick, you've got to save this guy or this one from a zombie. And then if you save one of them and their mum's watching, it'll be like, Karen will remember that. Very passive aggressive little motto will pop up. And later on, like 3 hours later, there might be a bit where you're stuck on a cliff edge and Karen's peeking down. She's like, you know what?
Sorry,
fuck off. And just shoots your hand off.
The funniest thing about this game was that it would show you at the end, especially, I don't know about the others, but the Walking Dead one, how your choices lined up with everyone else's.
Cool idea.
And there was a very distinct example of this in the Walking Dead game, where there was a choice you had to make between saving an old, horrible man and the hottest...
so horrible to you for the whole of that episode.
And the hottest woman in the game.
Yeah.
And literally no one had ever saved the old man.
One person saved him and it turned out to be the voice actor of Old Man. Old horrid man.
So they all have like a theme.
Yeah.
And ours is trans rights.
Okay.
Okay. And now this could be problematic.
It sure could. But luckily Leaky Steve's out of the equation. So...
Thank God.
So
there's one of mine that if I pull it out will sound...
Oh no, is it Jermaine Greer?
Oh God.
You put her in again.
Thankfully not. No.
Okay, who have we got?
Okay, we've got...
I'm just trying to think of how the Telltale format lends itself to the physical space, but that will be a conundrum we solve.
It is her. Now, I do just need it known.
Yeah.
This was not written with any kind of trans theme in mind. It's Wendy Wendigo superhero.
I don't know her. Is she a...
No, I made her up.
Oh, she's a Delane.
She's a Delane.
OG.
Yeah, exactly.
She's your AC.
Yeah.
You'd say on Tumblr. She's your fursona.
No.
Okay, because she's not an animal. Wendy, like Wendigo, like a Wendigo demon, sort of cannibalistic deer thing.
Yeah, but I stressed it like Wendigo to go with hero.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see what you're doing there, and I don't respect it, but I understand the idea. So Wendy Wendigo, she's transhuman already. No, she's part person, part Wendigo. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, she is that.
Pull me up if
she is
I'm out
that.
of step.
She is that. I just feel like we should tread carefully on this idea of comparing the two.
I haven't compared it. I'm saying that this is entirely a game about transhumanism at the moment.
Okay.
Because that is an idea, isn't it? I've not come up with that term. Like robots and people merging. That's transhuman.
It'd be a shame to have a game about that before we had one about just regular trans rights.
I guess it probably would have an easier time coming to market than this workaday
What with the
world.
gamer
What was the game
stance?
I don't know this, but my expectation is that the tabletop market is less bigoted as a whole than the kind of Call of Duty.
I think potentially, but I think also those within that community who are bigoted are the most bigoted.
Because they're not afraid to be bigoted IRL in the meat space.
In front of you.
And you're just playing Monopoly. You're probably the top packs is the best piece to be. And you'll land on Park Lane and he'll say, what are you? Some sort of queer? And you'll say, well, that's not.
There's no need for that kind of language.
There's no need for that, Leaky Steve. I preferred you when you were haunting that, let's remind ourselves, real world playground of the previous failed phenomenon.
The thing is that it would have been, and I cannot stress this enough, there would have been people queuing around the block to be Leaky Steves.
Yeah.
And there would have been at most 2 protagonists.
Yeah, that's a shame, isn't
it? And that's tragic.
Okay, so you want to dial it. What if it's both then? What if we have this idea? It's a pun, I suppose, at the very least, where Wendigo is the first, as far as I know, unless the Monopoly man has some secrets to reveal in his memoir, our first trans board game heroine.
Yeah.
But also half. Are they a demon or Wendigo, or is it like?
They do eat people.
Yeah, so do some of us. Not in the room. Some of us humans, I mean.
Yeah.
So that demon doesn't mean eat people.
But what I mean is that
are
it's
they magic?
Not ordinarily. Yeah.
Definitely magic.
Yeah.
Okay. Magic in the sense that, like, she can flit about.
It is a kind of monster.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, monster and magic, I think we need to decide, is it a beast sort of thing, like a yeti? Or is it a ghost sort of thing, like a ghost?
I
They're
see
the two
you've
big
clarified
taxonomies.
It. Well, should we get ourselves a definition up?
Yeah, get a Wendigo definition.
You start chatting about how this Telltale element is going to...
I think for me, the problem is that Telltale games, there's an arbiter, one of the people, although I suppose this is a thing in board games, because like the bank in Monopoly is the arbiter of that game. But in a Telltale game, where the whole premise is that choices are being made to lead down various branching paths, taking the narrative in different directions, it kind of implies that the whole thing is done for you by someone else. So unless one of the players has to then write out the whole story of Wendigo in advance of each session, D&D style, which is going to be, it's a big ask, isn't it?
Yeah.
Especially when this is our new IP, Wendigo.
Yeah.
And they're not going to, we can seed some information, some cool like character stills, maybe dabbing. That's very in. Definitely dabbing now that I think about it. But they're not going to know a great deal about the lineage of the character. There's not going to be a whole universe to play with off the bat. So perhaps board game, yes. But what if it was one of those like DVD board games like Atmosphere, where there's like a preset kind of narrative to interact with? Yeah, I realise that's kind of having our cake and eating it with the physical element.
What I was thinking was we could just have various card story, but there could be like various different narratives.
A bit like a murder mystery game that you buy.
Yeah.
So it's like a one shot sort of thing.
Yeah, but we could have like, there could be 8 different stories, say, and then we could release new ones.
Oh, yes. That's a good idea because then it's like physical DLC.
Yeah.
And that'll keep Shame Games in business for years to come.
I'm going to do a quick update.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to butcher a word here, so I do apologise for any
Is it a Native American
offense.
word?
I think so.
Okay.
In Algonquian.
Yeah, Algonquin is how I've heard it. Okay. But I only know it from the Algonquin Round Table.
Oh, right. In Algonquin folklore, the Wendigo is a mythical man-eating creature or evil spirit, native to the northern forests of the Atlantic coasts and Great Lakes region of the United States and Canada. The Wendigo may appear as a monster with some characteristics of a human or as a spirit who has possessed a human being and made them become monstrous. It is historically associated with murder, insatiable greed, and the cultural taboos against such behaviours.
Okay. That's interesting. So is the deer thing just from Hannibal that we get that?
I don't think it is just that. I think it is like more traditionally how it is depicted in...
I think straight off the bat we need to make some big decisions as devs, you and I. We're pro gamers, yeah. We use a lot of gamer words, sure, you've heard one there. Bored, that's a type of game. Trans rights, that's a gamer term.
They love it.
We need to make the decision, monster or ghost, for our Wendigo.
I think...
let's do pros and cons. Pro of a monster, you can grab it. Con of a ghost, you cannot grab a ghost. Try as you might, and believe me. I do really like the thing that it touched on there, which is one of my favourite mechanics in any game. It kind of only exists in party games, of impersonation. So the idea that Wendy Wendigo
the Goatman story.
Yeah, exactly like that. That Wendy Wendigo is like a status that you apply to a character, and now you're that character, and for some reason that differentiates your aims from everyone else. The only thing I can think of is that Wendy Wendigo's goal is to promote trans rights, whereas everyone else is TERFs in your board game. And you have to subtly promote them without alerting the rest of your commentariat compadres.
Here's how it goes. Wendy is a nice person. They want to promote the trans rights, but they also have a kind of strong moral sense. But a bit like Tom Hardy and Venom. Yeah. Like the Wendigo part of her is very happy to just eat the TERFs.
Okay, so it's about moderating. It's a kind of statement on the extent to which the left should embrace political violence in its praxis.
Exactly. But every
the delicate
time,
balance of...
But every time the message is clear that you should totally embrace
whether you should
eat the TERFs.
The TERFs.
Yeah.
And that could maybe be... So if our game's going to be called Wendy Wendigo Superhero, quotes, eat the TERFs, exclamation mark.
I like it.
Get this, another 2 exclamation marks, because it's like Twittery. It's quite cool.
Yeah.
So there's this... Right. Practically speaking, how does the Wendy Wendigo effect work in the setting? There's me, there's you, there's 2 of our good pals.
Okay.
Leaky Steve, perhaps invited over, Captain Birdseye. We're all sitting down to play. How do we assign the Wendigo role? And what is the role then of the other players? Like, what's the physical action?
So I think that it's a board.
Yeah, well, it does say.
Yeah, and it's 4 players. Okay, but you can work in teams, of course, because it's about decision making.
Yeah.
But it's four characters. Each of you starts in a corner of the board, and the idea is to get to the centre. And if Wendy gets there, the TERFs are defeated.
Okay.
Trans rights reign.
Yeah.
Okay. If any of the TERFs get there, clock's up.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? That's
the sad message.
That's the end of social justice, unfortunately.
About if there isn't enough eating of the TERFs, they might win.
If we just tacitly enable them to continue.
Yeah, if we let them publish in our
in the Guardian
newspapers
today, a couple of articles. Weird that they come out on the same sort of.
It's
24
sort of weird,
hour.
like a kind of like 1-2.
Yeah, very strange.
And
I'm sure it's unintentional.
It must be.
Yeah, it's a big oversight, for sure. So by asking our players, who, if we were inviting them, will be very liberal, socially justice-minded folk, to inhabit the role of TERFs, we're trying to create a not empathy so much as a sense of total derision, a self-hatred that's going to fuel some of the decision-making Telltale-esque throughout the game.
Yeah, so
it'll be like, shall I publish this think piece about self-ID? And then if you choose yes, you will get eaten. You just turn that card over. Whoops.
And you have to constantly pick the most cowardly and pathetic route possible in order to get there. So
So it's like denigrating yourself as the turf player.
So, and what it is that their routes are much more like long and winding to get to the middle, which gives Wendy the time, who can move more spaces, to come around and eat all three and then get to the middle.
Pac-Man Ghost style.
Yeah, but not Ghost Monster. You can grab her.
You must
but you
try. You must
unless
try,
you've got consent.
But it will not work. No. It will never work.
So like they get, maybe it's for 5 players, so you have a 5th player who runs the game, and they give the decisions and they read.
Because I guess if we just wrote a bunch of like, one thing I'll say about the turfs, and it's not a compliment, is that they operate in quite singular ways. Like there's quite predictable patterns. You'll see a certain tweet. Declan's just picked up a star card, so we'll come to that in a moment. You see a certain tweet, and 10 of the responses are going to be already like, oh, what about who they're going to be from? Our kids? What about bathrooms and things like and who they're going to be from. So it wouldn't be hard for us to write, and we will definitely consult. We'll probably hire a staff of entirely trans writers.
Well, yeah, because we can't write it.
No, I don't. No.
This already is abysmal.
Well, no, but I think we've come up with an idea that we're just putting out there and letting other people run with.
Yeah.
So we're taking the ball maybe 5 yards into the field and then begging the trans community to really do the rest.
And all we're asking for is all of the profit.
It's a solid 90.
As the white men who the cis white men who
are behind really all of the progress that. Well, not progress.
You wouldn't say we're the genius behind
the movement.
It.
No,
but you could. We wouldn't.
We'll take a lot of the spotlight.
We're not going to stop you.
Probably on the kind of publicity tours, like you're going to be the face of the game. I'll be in the shadows, working on like Leaky Steve.
Yeah.
Concept art, which
you're still forging ahead with that.
It has got to be done at some point.
It's got legs.
Yeah, it's got almost too many legs. So we've called the game Wendy Would Need Go Superhero: Eat the Turfs. What's the like gameplay turn to turn? Is it a die? Is it a move as much as you want? Is it like a discourse based game, like a kind of persuasion thing where you're having to like articulate some viewpoint?
Well, I think obviously there's some cooperation between the turf players because only one of them has to reach the middle to win.
But I imagine they're all going to have slightly different agendas.
They do, and it's about how much they want to compromise those for the greater goal.
And what if one of the like routes that you could go down is that one of them becomes like they see the light and they're no longer a turf halfway and they're going to like flip-flop, but their agenda is then going to be to sabotage the other turfs whilst maintaining the guise of turf central.
Oh, that doesn't happen because the turfs are horrible. No, they don't do that. Yeah. I thought about that, but then I was like, no, they don't do
I suppose we don't want to push the boundaries of reality too far.
Exactly.
Because at Shame Games, we're all about like real experiences from real people.
So I think there's some, collaboration between the turf players because they have to, Hadley Freeman, she thinks she's got some kind of vague, very, like we were saying earlier, milquetoast centrist idea of like, I'm not actually anti you. I just don't believe in you and I don't want you to have any rights. Yeah. But in a very sensible way. And then there's like the Graham Linehans who are like, you are incels, all of you, you're scum. I don't believe in you. I hate you.
And I'm doing this all for women, he'll say. Yeah. Every other turn he'll have to say that.
Even though it's like most women are asking him not to.
Yeah.
But he is doing it for them, not for himself.
It's really good.
It is good of him.
What would we do without brave whites like Graham? Just putting it out there for the rest of us.
And so there's some collaboration between them because they don't all have the exact same goal. They just have the same kind of end game, as it were.
But their individual routes, I think, can be quite differentiated because they're all competing for visibility.
Yes, exactly. They have different sets of cards for each of their routes roles, and their journeys. Wendy, you've got the one aim, and it's just to eat those turfs.
I think almost in a way, Wendy can be a kind of chaotic force in that it doesn't matter so much the story, and the story can be that Wendy just appears in other people's, like willy-nilly.
Yeah, it gets moved around the board sometimes.
And it's less about like forging a narrative and more about just curtailing the narratives of the turf folk in the game. And then I think what could happen after, like the victory condition, when all three are toppled, like the queen in chess or the king or whatever it is, then maybe Wendy just gets free reign to play like a mini game around the board for the rest of the time.
Yeah, I quite like that.
What's the star card saying?
Now it's gonna
require some rethinking.
Yeah, potentially in an entire rethink.
Okay, well we can get Leaky Steve.
No, he's. I'm afraid he's gone. No, once used.
Okay.
Because the wild card was Twitch chat integration.
Oh no, they're not going to like this.
Because they're A, not going to like this, and B, it's a board game.
That's all right. We can make that work. We can have a digital piece that comes that's like just a tablet.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like Hadley's iPad in the fiction, and that constantly just relays what's going on to the Twitch chat. They could vote on things like which branch to go down. It will, unfortunately, it's optional, the integration, and if you do opt for it, then obviously the right will prevail because Twitch chat is, well, it's a
it's a cesspit of some of the worst that humanity has to offer.
It's an unfortunate place. So you're saying veto on the Twitch chat integration?
Yeah, I think we just can't.
Let's do one more.
One more. So you pick those two, I'll pick these two?
That sounds good. That sounds really good.
And then we've got our final star card. Yeah. And then we'll call it a day on this.
Call it a big day. Now, this is a game for... Oh, no, we've just done that one because I had the same one as you. Tabletop. This is an arcade game. Everyone loves an arcade game. I had that as well.
Classic arcade game.
A bit of like hanging out in the real world with people. The genre, now it's a CCG, a collectible card game. I want you to think Hearthstone. I want you to think that Pokemon game that no one played. Well, I say no one played because no one actually played the game. They did a lot of collecting. But who knows the fucking rules to that? Tell me what some of the main characters and some of the themes are.
Well, I can tell you what the big theme is.
Yeah,
it's teach boys lessons.
Teach boys lessons. That's a good. It's TBL. A classic theme. Yeah.
And our main character is, or one of them, and this actually lines up maybe spookily well.
Okay.
It's Holden Caulfield.
Oh,
Catcher in the Rye.
So this is just an arcade game of Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
And it's a game where it's all about, you control a hand, like a physical hand, you're just catching shit in New York, going around talking about different lessons boys need to learn.
Cool. Next one.
Yeah, that was an easy one there. This is a platform that we all enjoy. It's the classic arcade. It's another platform that we all enjoy. It's the PlayStation 1. So we're going retro, the PS school. Classic kind of vibes. It's a match 3 game, so I'm thinking like Candy Crush sort of vibes. I'll extend it to like Tetris, anything in that genre of like matching shapes.
Things falling,
things being matched. Benefits accruing slowly but surely. We're targeting that and I guess this works, it being a PS1 game, we're targeting the olds because they love to candy.
Well, that works.
They love to crush the
perfectly
candy.
Because the theme is high functioning alcoholism.
And that's a problem that plagues many of the
olds.
The olds, yeah. When life gets you down.
And the character who has to be involved is simply Snoopy.
Snoopy, okay. Again, a throwback. This is a very throwback.
A high-functioning alcoholic.
I didn't know that.
Well, he is now.
Right, okay. So he...
explains those weird noises he makes.
What genre did we say this was? A match 3?
It's a match 3.
So you're... Oh, God, this is complicated. It's obvious to me that you're matching alcohols that fall.
Yep. Well, that's got to be it.
Because that ties together the alcoholism and the high functioning that's required to match at speeds that Snoopy will be required. Maybe you control on the PS1 like left... Did they have an analog stick on the PS1?
Yeah.
Don't know they did,
They did.
Did it? I thought it was just D-pad only. Okay. Left analog stick, left paw. Right analog stick, right paw. If you click them down, I don't know if you could do that on PS1, then that would be Snoopy's beagle nose. And that's like, you can only do that every few minutes. You've got to build up a Woodstock meter by downing both yourself and feeding to the little yellow birds.
Right.
Increasingly high concentrated alcohol concoctions.
Right. And as it goes, the sort of like game is blurring.
You start, and then you press them both down and you black out and you just sort of your nose goes wild. You're vomiting.
And he wakes up in a puddle of his own piss.
Yeah. And probably blood, probably a bitch dog that he doesn't even know the name of.
Now, this high functioning element of the alcohol.
Well, the next day he works at NASA. because he's a mascot of NASA. That's true. That's a true fact. And so it could be a game of balancing the match 3 portion, which is our metaphor, a very clever metaphor, I think you'll agree, of Snoopy's binge drinking habit.
His desperation.
With the next day, it becomes
to down those doubles, trebles, and further.
The next day, like every other day, you're playing a very grueling, challenging, like maths and science heavy solving game.
Yeah. And however many, if you score more points on the match 3,
that's great. You're going to get some cool unlocks, a cool hat maybe.
But it makes the next day harder.
It's very hard.
And there's things like the clues, the answers are like click and drag ones, and they're constantly kind of moving around.
They're just like spinning about. And also there's a meter that's colleague suspicion. And that, like, if you come into work and you've got like a bit of vomit on your dog face, that's going to be like, 10% of that's going to go up. Because Max, who sits across the way, and Leaky Steve in corporate, he's coming down with the daily news.
Who's from corporate?
It's Leaky Steve. He's back, and he's going to see. Oh, that's not good, is it? That's not good. What's happened there? So
Leaky Steve is just what? He's just running NASA.
He's not running. Well, no, he is. He's the director.
Okay.
Leaky refers to how his rockets never leak.
Leaky Steve is in charge of man's exploration of the great beyond.
Well, it's good. We send our best. He's also an astronaut. Yeah.
Right. He actually goes up there. He runs the show, and then at the last minute, pops on a helmet.
Here I go.
And he goes. Yeah, I like the idea as well that there are, because you need to drink.
Yeah.
You can't just be like, I'm not going to connect 3 on this game and then I'm going to ace the puzzles.
It's
because
you'd get such a... You'd
get the shakes, you get the DTs.
I think it would be like fully... Your body would be...
You're just seizing.
Yeah.
Now...
What's the star card saying?
It's not easy. It's not easy.
That's hard. That's rough.
Esports ready.
Oh, well, I don't know. Match 3, there's a competitive Tetris scene.
Yeah.
I don't know about a competitive Candy Crush scene, but...
Competitive, then puzzle solving scene.
Yeah.
Combination of the two. How are we going to... Because if you're both playing as the same character, it's not always necessarily as fun, because there's not necessarily an enormous amount of scope for different play styles.
What if the very after each match 3 session we're in NASA, what if that is very good, that whole bit, and we simulate fully what it's like to work, to be employed by the National Aeronautics Space
Well, then
Agency.
It's definitely not esports ready, because none of them know what it's like to have a job.
But what I'm saying is neither would Snoopy, because he's off his head. And so you work, it's a game, the sporting element is how well can I fit into this corporate environment? And really it then becomes a kind of edutainment thing, just looping back to that, because we're training people for not the workplace, but a workplace, being NASA employees.
What if you choose, like Snoopy's just one, but maybe it's the whole Peanuts gang.
Yeah.
Right?
Sally,
but
Charlie Brown, Linus.
Love them.
Yeah.
All our favourite characters.
Gary, Steve.
Leaky Steve. Remember the comic where Leaky Steve?
Yeah, he does some bad stuff.
But each of them has a slightly different drink, which is their vice. And it has different effects. He's
absinthe.
a straight absinthe man. So like maybe Charlie Brown only drinks beer.
Okay.
Which means that it takes him a bit longer to get
He's
pissed.
quite small, I want you to know.
Yeah, he is.
Very round head
they all are.
Beer in.
Really, because they are children, aren't
and
they?
they're cartoons, so they're only ever a few inches high.
Unless they're in the cinema.
In which, maybe that's something we can play with.
Giant.
Yeah.
But like, so Charlie Brown only drinks beer, so it takes him longer to get pissed.
But when he does.
You have to keep taking like bathroom breaks because you're taking in more volume.
Yeah. Whereas, and he's got IBS. So he's constantly just...
And that was a big feature of the comics as well.
Out in the outhouse, just shatting it up.
Well, yeah. He's just absolutely destroying.
If, Linus had a gun?
And there's always the chance he might turn it on himself.
Yeah. It's in the blanket. That's finally we get to work out why. What's the real reason, Linus? Don't hide it from us anymore. Why'd you carry this? And it's because
it's to disguise
under his arm,
his assault rifle AR-15.
Yeah. Well, what if? How would that impact the game? Because then it's less about matching 3 and more about hiding from an active shooter.
Well, what I suppose is that if you're working for NASA, that you probably can't just walk into the offices like you can other people's. There's probably
he might be a very high up employee. He might be head of security. Think about that. Riddle me this.
But then I suppose the rest of the security team would be around him all day. And so the employee suspiciousness meter that you were on about earlier will be quite high if he has a blanket all the time working for NASA and it's lying over the shape of what is very clearly a big gun.
The suspectometer is an issue, but what if Linus calls a holiday for all the security folks? He's like, don't worry about coming into work. We'll have a big barbecue. And then the next day is when he strikes.
Well, also, the point, I suppose, is that whilst the employee suspicion can go up, if he has a gun, he's got a lot more leverage.
True.
Once it breaches.
So it really doesn't, it's immaterial to him what the suspectometer is saying.
I suppose
he can just shoot you to death.
I suppose it depends on how drunk he is, because his aim is going to be thrown off.
True, and this is PS1, so it will be very hard to to even really see the people, because they'll be such a weird polygonal mess.
And think of the characters themselves. I mean, they're all, like you say, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, they're mostly round characters.
God, they look
they're going to be abominations.
We'll have some of the breathing tech from
Harry Potter. They can just inflate so all their limbs spread out.
Well, why not have Rubius Hagrid in the game?
Hello, Harry.
He can be...
Hello, Mr. Bro.
He can be the head of the of mission control or something.
I got you them
Capcom.
fire seeds you need for your rocket.
To the moon, where you need the fire seeds for sure. What's it called? What's it called, this game? We've got, let's remind ourselves of the elements. We're matching, we're drinking, we're functionally partaking in the act of work, kind of employment. We're sometimes going on mass shooting sprees. We're appeasing Hagrid's, let's be honest, fetish for fucking fire seeds. How do we marry all of those disparate elements into a single title? Over to you.
I was just going to go for something silly.
Okay.
Because that's what all like those PS1 games, they have sort of weird...
Yeah.
They're either enigmatic like Pets Cop. Very good game. Or they're very literal like Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone game. So, I mean, we could either call it the Peanuts Gang Get Pissed and Work at NASA.
Yeah.
Or
exclamation mark.
You could just call it yourself something like Drink Yourself Snoopy.
What about New Tetris? NU Tetris.
New Tetris :
The I is a beer bottle.
I think it's $1 billion idea.
Well, there we have it, guys. Out of the mouths of babes, they say. And what bigger babes this week than Isaac B to the D and Declan E to the D? Now, that's not erectile dysfunction. I hasten to add.
Thank you very much.
It's been a big double episode. As we speak, I'm probably at all kinds of bizarre shows in the Edinburgh Fringe. If you're in Edinburgh, then have fun. And let's just keep it at that. Look, there are a bunch of ways of getting in touch with the show, none of which we plugged last week, and all of which we'd love for you to get involved with. Why don't you elucidate some of those for us, Declan D. Lane?
So there's many ways you can get in touch, as Isaac's just said.
Yeah, there's no need to repeat it.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate, because there are at least 3.
Yeah.
And that's loads.
There's too many.
You can email us, TAS, that's TAS, at shame.city.
Sure can.
You can also get in touch via the newly revamped contact form on the website, shame.city/contact.
Yeah. We're on Capture version 3 now, guys. Whole new standard.
Boom.
Very cool.
You can find us on Twitter. The show can be found at That's a Shamecast.
Good
Isaac, very good tweet. Isaac is at IsaacBD. I am at DE Delane.
True enough.
You can find us sometimes just loitering in our own Discord. Shame.city/Discord for that. If you've got any questions, it's a good place to go, because sometimes we're feeling very generous and we do things like make you Spotify playlists. Or tell you about films we've seen.
Or Leaky Steve sends nudes. And we've got a whole channel for that.
There's that, I think, is being closed down.
No, it's the channel. I've made it the default
government
when you join.
Mandate.
One of the ways you mentioned email has actually been used fairly recently on the 16th of July, just 13 days ago, by Toby Milestones King.
It'd be more than that by the time this comes out.
Yeah, oh God, it was literally years. On For Goodness Sake. Once again, he says, the arbitrary celebration of continuing to make a podcast nobody listens to rears its rotten, flabby head. 150 is not a milestone, you meat sacks. Declan referring to it as a, quote, anniversary made me want to tear my own leg off. Would not recommend this show. Don't know why I listen. Why does this hell continue? Always nice to hear content though, even if Declan has no idea how Choose Your Own Adventures work. And, less surprisingly, it becomes a piece so inward-looking, I'm worried your heads will burst through your own stomachs and out your backs like some sort of Cronenbergian horror snake, which I'm into. Congrats on your not milestone. I'll continue to listen until you two finally relocate to the DRC and go silent forever. Sent from my iPhone. Toby Milestone's King.
Toby, I'm sure that I made it very clear that I do know how they work, but I just couldn't be bothered to write one.
It could have been that you said that and you were just disguising a real deep insecurity about it.
I haven't a clue.
Don't even know
what is the choice?
So yeah, that's an example of an email. If you'd like to send one even slightly more...
Wommy bomb!
Oh God, okay. Go on.
No, that was it.
Explain what that means,
No.
for God's sake. It means tell a friend about the show, because we're not doing that.
We're not.
Anyway, until episode 153, I've been Isaac, you've been...
I've been Declan.
And we've been Shame Games Limited, an original concept from TAS.
TM.
The bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Come to you.